to once again mention today's subject, study political science and sociology in Germany, go ahead, do that. It's really interesting. And today's webinar will be one of the arguments for that, why you need to study these exciting subjects in Germany. Here are our guests, and of course, I will be introducing them separately. The organizer of session is Bonn-Rhein-Sieg, Germany's largest study program database. Do you want to study in English or in German, on bachelor, master, all different levels, MBA programs? Feel free to use the study finder to narrow down your searches, find suitable programs, and also find information regarding them in one place about upcoming events and all of that. It's really convenient to have all the details on one page. And of course, there are course pages where you can go directly to the course page or directly to the application portal, whatever is interesting for you. We also have comprehensive articles about different topics. The articles are in English, but also in different languages. And we try to be informative so that you don't have to wait until the next, I don't know, scholarship or UniAssist webinar. If you have a quick question, you could check the article and get the answer right away. With the webinars, we have approximately 200 webinars per year. Subject and general webinars. We have subject webinars like today, the aim of which is to introduce to you specific study programs so that you can connect with your future program already now. With general webinars, we provide broader information about scholarships, UniAssist, visa, opportunity card, blocked account, and other topics. My colleague Camila and I are joining them and trying to assist you with your questions there as well. This is our team. We're based in Hamburg, Germany. We are counseling in different languages. Please don't take this counseling as one-to-one counseling, because we do not do that. And if there are questions about WhatsApp and personal emails, we believe that the information that we provide with the web pages, with the articles and also webinars is enough so that you can start the application yourself and successfully submit and then start your semester in Germany. So now I would like to give mic directly to the first speaker, Brian from Hochschule Bonn-Rhein-Sieg, presenting the first study program, Master Social Protection.
Thank you, Nina, once again for this opportunity for our university to present at this program and platform. My name is Brian Matebula. I'm program coordinator in the M.Sc Social Protection at the Bonn-Rhein-Sieg University of Applied Sciences in St. Augustine. What I'm going to do in the next 10 minutes is just provide a brief overview of our university, focusing more on the international aspect of our university. As well, given that we are a Master of Science in Social Protection, I just thought it'd be good that we also just define what we mean by social protection, so that if you're interested in the program, you can understand what it is that we seek to teach. Then I'll also provide an overview of the program in terms of the 2-year master program, what it is that you should expect from the actual teaching, the program, and outlay. Then we'll look at the admission requirements, the scholarships that are available, as well as just finish with the application process. In terms of our university, we are located within 3 premises, one in Hennef, one in St. Augustine, and one in Rheinbach. All of them are within the Bonn-St. Augustine area. Given that we are presenting here at the international platform, we also pride ourselves as a university that we are an international university with 20% of the students being international students, which also means that we have a significant number of programs that are also in English. In general, there are around 9,000 students across the 3 campuses. Now, in itself, what do we mean social protection? When you study social protection, we mean policies and programs that prevent or reduce poverty and vulnerability across a life cycle. A life cycle would mean children, family, sickness, unemployment benefits, disability, old age, and health coverage. Now, when we teach here, we look at different mixture of how social protection is delivered, which includes social insurance and social assistance, as well as in-kind services. But for those who are interested, when I shared the presentation, you can look at one of the open access handbooks that was developed by the former academic head, Professor Schuring and Professor Markus Löwe. They go through in detail of the different social protection systems that exist across the global context. Now, in terms of the program itself, it's a 2-year master's program. We've been in existence since 2015. We've had over 250 graduates since then. The medium of instruction is the English. We have a small learning group. So what we mean here is that every year we receive around 260 applications, of which we accept 25 to 32 at most. And then what we do as part of the teaching process is that there's a greater collaboration with leading practitioners. That basically means when we talk about these social protection interventions, we would also bring in different stakeholders from either ILO, the World Bank, United Nations Center for Climate Change, as well as other country aspects that speak to different interventions or programs around social protection. What we also do differently is that in the second semester, it takes place online as compared to the first semester, but I'll speak to that in the next slide. We also include within the program extracurricular activities, which also include brown bag lunches. This is whereby every second month, leading experts within the field of social protection will be invited to present the most topical issues around social protection, as well as present any emerging studies, impact evaluation around social protection. We also do an excursion to different social protection programs within Germany, as well as visit the EU Commission to see how social protection is also approached within the broader EU context. Now, in itself, is that, as I indicated, that the university itself is international, but we also, within our program, we pride ourselves as having an international landscape or geography. Is that, as you can see here, is that all our students come from many continents, excluding Australia, but what we can see here is that we have from the Americas, we also have from Sub-Saharan Africa, as well as the EU, as well as large parts of South Asia. Now, in terms of the actual curriculum itself, what you see here is the P means the preparatory section. Given that we are M.Sc social protection, but a lot of our students don't necessarily come with a background in economic statistics, within the initial phase, students that are accepted will be asked to participate in pre-courses in economics and statistics. The idea here is to set a foundation so that when they start in the first semester, there's at least some basic understanding of some of these economic concepts and statistics concepts that they will be encountering in Module 2 and Module 4. Now, what you see here is a breakdown of the 4 semesters. In the first semester, students are expected to be on campus. So that'll be from September until the end of January. So this is face-to-face interaction. In the second semester, the students don't necessarily have to be based in Germany. They can be based anywhere. Some of them return to their home country, but a majority tend to stay. So that's in the second semester. That'll be from March until end of August. Then in the third semester, we have what you call is a practical term, which is the internship semester. I'll speak more in detail to where our students undertake their internships. But here is students who want to have the option to undertake a practical semester. If for those who don't have to or don't want to, and they've inadequate social protection experience, then it can opt out of this internship semester. In the fourth semester, the students work on their master thesis, as well as throughout the second semester until the end, students also into the master thesis do M9, which is the research methods. This is in preparation for their master thesis. We also have student general, where here It allows students to gain capacity. So that basically means they can choose an area of expertise or area of training that would like to be credited up to 5 ECTS. That basically means students can either say, I want to learn German while I'm here, and they can have that credited, or they say, I want to learn intercultural perspectives or presentation skills, some of it which is offered at the university, but they don't have to take these extra 5 ECTS within the university. They're more than welcome to seek these externally. And as well as within that is that students have an opportunity to have elective. This is the area of specialization. So basically, in the second semester, they can choose two areas, either the elderly or children, migrants, working population, people with disability, and families. These are the areas that they'll get in depth, and they can specialize in these areas of specialization. So they get to choose two out of the six that are provided. Uh, as I noted earlier, that we also have the practical term, which is the internship semester. So what we here I've just displayed some of the international organizations that our students participate in. In some of these organizations, we have established collaboration or memorandum of understanding where they take a certain number of students per year. For example, UNSRIT would take 5 students per year, as well as ITUC would take 2 years, two students per year as well. So that basically means for those who come from international contexts who want to undertake an internship within international organization as well as within Germany, are able to do so. As well as these are also some of the organizations that our alumni are currently working in. I also mentioned a little bit earlier that we also offer scholarships within the program. Out of the 25 to 32 that we accept every year, we have around 8 students that are covered under the 𝘗𝘬𝘪𝘵 scholarship. So, however, this cycle now is currently past. So, if one is interested in applying this, the next applicable cycle will be in 2027, 2028, and the application process will start in June, July. Also, yeah, I just showed some of the extracurricular activities that the students undertake. Yeah, you see them self-organized into lunches, a brown bag presentation in the middle there, as well as city tours that some of our students, as well as a visit to Brussels, the middle bottom picture as well. Now, in terms of the admission requirements, is that the students or the applicants must have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree within the relevant field. What is also quite important is that we require the students to have at the least 5 months of work experience in a field related to social protection. That basically means that you must have, you must provide evidence that you worked within a social protection field within an institution. This could be in a government, this could be civil society, NGOs, and all of that, but you need to demonstrate this social protection experience. For those who do not have their previous degree undertaken in English or English was a medium of instruction, will require English proficiency at a C1 level. We also require our students to pass an entrance exam. This is submitted with all your admission requirements. So basically, this is a research proposal where you kind of outlay what it is that you would be interested in investigating within the field of social protection, and you would provide why this topic matters, what are the proposed methodologies that you would employ to answer this question. So these will be the key requirements in the application process. Now, compared to previous years, is that you were able to apply directly to our university or our university application process. But this year, this is no longer possible, is that students must apply via Uni Assist. Now, there's a significant difference here is that compared to previous years, that now there's a 75 euro fee that is paid directly to Uni Assist on their platform before we get to actually see your documents. What they do here is that they actually look at your degree that you're using, whether you're eligible to study a master's degree in Germany. Once that process is eligible or is proven that you're eligible, then those documents are forwarded to us. So that also in itself provides a little bit of a delay because they first have to verify before sending us the documents. Yeah, once they approve this documents, they forward it to us for review. Now, in terms of the actual application process and deadlines, currently the application portal is open. It opened on the 15th of November and it will close on the 15th of January. Now, this deadline for the 15th of January applies for students who would require a visa. If you do not require a visa or you're already in Germany, the application deadline is 30th of May. But for those who apply and require a visa, we try to have a rolling application process. This basically means as soon as we receive your application documents, we try to process this application as timelessly so that we can allow you the opportunity to go through the visa process, which in some geographies, this can be quite time consuming. And then once you have been accepted, as I indicated with our program timeline, is that by September we would expect you to partake in our pre-courses. As I also indicated that we do bring students that don't have a background in statistics or economics, and this is quite important for those students who don't have some of this background. For some that have advanced background in these areas, don't need the pre-courses. And then in September, towards the end, that's when our semester starts. I think I might just be on time. I will just end there, and if there's
Yeah. So now I would like to give this virtual mic to the second study program, second university, Marburg University, presenting Peace and Conflict Studies.
For inviting me. Happy to present our joint degree program together with the University of Kent in Peace and Conflict Studies. It's a bit different from what we just heard because the structure is different, also topic is different, but also some overlaps, interestingly. So thank you, Brian, for presenting your program. It sounds really, really interesting, I have to say. Yeah, so very briefly, you will have the same or similar kind of information, types of information. So be like about the program, about the requirements, the structure, and fees and scholarships, of course, and also admission deadlines. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So first of all, a bit like about what is peace and conflict studies. You probably have heard about this, but yeah, just to give you a bit of an idea of what we are talking about and what we are teaching in this 2 years master's program. It's an interdisciplinary field, although kind of the methods and theory are mainly from social sciences, political sciences, international relations, but we in this field, we seek to understand the causes of political conflict and armed conflict violence. And also we want to develop strategies for preventing, managing, transforming conflicts in peaceful ways. So there's generally a focus on how to manage conflicts and to prevent them from escalating into full-scale violence. So key topics in this field are: what are the root causes of conflicts? Why do conflict emerge? What is peace building? So how can we secure and build peace after the end of violent conflict? How can we transform conflict into peaceful relations between former adversaries? How can we provide justice and facilitate reconciliation after the end of violent conflict? And what are the roles of conflicts in democracy? So it's not only about violence, it's not only about kind of destructive tendencies, but also what are the, let's say, positive functions of conflicts in democracy. So key questions, as just mentioned, are: why do some conflicts escalate to violence while others are not? What role do political as well as civil society actors actually play in while either preventing or escalating conflicts? How can societies who experience large-scale violence deal with past atrocities? So it's also a kind of a link to human rights, of course. and what role do conflicts play for democratization and in democracy. So is a kind of really rough outline of what we are dealing with in peace and conflict studies. We look both on the international level, of course, but also on domestic level. So we deal with international conflicts, but also with intergroup conflicts, for example, in societies, both in democratic political regimes and more autocratic political regimes. So it's like on both levels, we look into peace and conflict. So what is the structure of the program? And this is now really different from what we just heard. This is a 2-year joint degree program. So you get a certificate, a degree actually from 2 universities, and you also study at 2 universities. This is mandatory, so there's no chance to find a way just to study at one place. You need to study at 2 places, and it's also great fun to study at 2 places. So one of the, I would say, incentives for studying this program, despite the peace and conflict studies part, is that you learn about two very, very different higher education system. You live in very different societies for a year, and you experience 2 very, very different types of universities. And I think this is one of the main assets of studying this program. The first year, and you have 2 pictures here from the 2 cities, and what you, probably see from these pictures is they are quite similar in size and also in kind of how the city is shaped. So both are quite medieval in their landscape. They have two big cathedrals. They have around 80,000 people living there. Marburg is quite in the center of Western Germany, quite close to Frankfurt. Canterbury in the southeast of England. And both are really, really shaped by the university and by students. So both are, I would say, quite university cities. First year takes place at the University of Kent in Canterbury. You have mandatory modules in peace and conflict studies, which is pathways to peace, but also on research methods, and then electives on different topics which are closely related to peace and conflict studies. So, for example, negotiation, mediation, political resistance, terrorism, European Union, and so on and so forth. And then the whole cohort, which starts at the University of Kent, moves then for the second year to the University of Marburg in Germany. And in between, you have a mandatory internship of around 10 weeks. We are a bit flexible when it comes to the exact amount of hours or weeks you take. Actually, the internship provider are quite similar to what Brian just said about his program. So it's basically international organizations or NGOs, government institutions within either the UK or Germany, but you can also take the internship in a different country. So year 2 starts in the winter term, second year, so October second year. You have 1 mandatory course, which is on peace psychology, and then a couple of elective, some of them very closely related again to peace and conflict studies like development, global inequality, protest, but you can also take language courses as a curriculum, within the curriculum as a module. And you have then the dissertation at the end of year 2. This dissertation is jointly supervised by colleagues in Kent and Marburg. So you have 2 supervisors, both from 2 universities. You actually can spend the final semester, so the summer term second year, also wherever you want, because you can have all classes actually which are mandatory for the year 2 in the 3rd semester, so first term in the second year. So if you want, you can also move to another country, back to the UK if you have the chance of going to with regard to visa obligations, but also to your home country, to whatever country. So, but you can definitely also, you're more than welcome to stay in Marburg also for the fourth semester. You can also take courses in the 4th semester. very roughly, you could say year one is pretty much focused on the conflict part, more on the security part of peace and conflicts, more on the international relations part, whereas year two is more focusing on the peace part. Some of the issues are more kind of within society, so more of domestic conflicts. So it's a kind of synergies between the 2 years. To year one, more international relations. Year two, more on peace and domestic conflicts. With the program, so what are the skills actually we want to develop? The first, of course, are analytical skills. So how can you analyze conflicts in relation to certain research, and also some practical or more applied methods. So there's a strong focus on the analytical part. And then the other part is we really want to develop skills for conflict resolution, so that you can actively participate in conflict resolution in very diverse, very different settings. And then we also want to really foster cooperation within the program. So we really put a strong emphasis in that students actively cooperate within the program. So that's actually part of the program. So it's structured, and the teaching is structured in the way that it fosters cooperation. Some numbers. So currently we have 45 enrolled students. We have around 20 study places per year, a bit flexible on that. Last year, we actually had a record numbers of applications, which were around 350, and we already have 175 graduated students, basically from all around the world. The student cohort transformed actually quite interestingly, and this has something to do with Brexit, of course. So when we started the program 10 years ago, we had a lot of our students actually were from Germany. Now the majority of our students are actually non-European students, so it's dramatically changed, and there are students from all over the world, basically. So a lot of from Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, Near and Middle East, Latin America, North America, and of course also UK and also European students. Some words on the requirements and the applications. So we accept any students with an honors degree or an equivalent. So with regard to the British higher education program, you should have obtained some social science modules in your degree, in your first degree. So basically bachelor degree, or if you already have a master degree, in your master degree. If you don't have, so if you are from very different disciplines, or you didn't have the chance to take social science modules, you could be considered if you have gained relevant professional experience. So for example, if you worked in an NGO in the conflict resolution context, you still can be considered by the universities. So just apply and find out, actually. Then English speaking is mandatory, and this is checked actually by University of Kent. So please visit the English language requirement website for update information, because they actually update it quite so per every semester. So please check their website. It's basically similar to what we just heard. So C1 more or less is the requirement for joining the program, but you need to take a test, and please check the website for University of Kent. And also all applications should be submitted through University of Kent. So they manage the application, because you start at the University of Kent. They manage actually the whole application process. University of Marburg is participating in selecting the students, but organizational wise, it's managed by the University of Kent, and you can actually apply at any time. There is no deadline for application. And the semester then starts at Kent. So your study program actually starts at Kent end of September. And as I said, the second year then starts October, year 2, at the University of Marburg. So our teaching, very few words on our teaching. It's interdisciplinary teaching. So we include international relations, sociology, political science, social psychology. That's actually, as you said, saw a mandatory module in social psychology, international law, but also other disciplines. We take a strong emphasis on interaction with and between students in classes. So what I'm doing now, just talking to you, should be or is not the, let's say, standard way of how we teach. It's very much interaction. We use simulation games, in particular in Marburg, in conflict resolution and conflict escalation. We organize study trips within Germany, sometimes also abroad. And we also bring in, as you can see from the photo, international experts to deliver either courses or classes within courses, sometimes online, but mostly on site. And then what are perspectives if you obtain our degree? So where do our alumni actually work? And I can say it's a really broad range of professions. So a lot of working now for non-governmental organizations in the field of civil conflict resolution, government institutions and organizations in conflict resolution, conflict mediation and conflict management. A lot of actually work in the sector of education, sometimes higher education or adult education. A lot of working in policy advising, organizational counseling and consulting. We have also students who then continue their career in academia, so in universities, but also research institutions. Some of them working in media, some of them in public relations, and also in business, like companies, private services. So really broad range. And this is because you join the program with very, very different study backgrounds and very different degrees, bachelor degrees. So the career tracks, if you like, are very different. And then finally, and I finish with that, fees and scholarships. As you can guess, for the first year, the UK university, our partner in Kent, is charging actually tuition fees. And you can see the numbers here. This can change each semester, so please check the website. Currently, it's for international students, £12,400 for the first year. EU students get a discount, and you probably are also eligible, or maybe eligible, so please for another discount. So don't take this 12,000 as granted. Check the website, the information in Kent, whether you are eligible for a reduced study fee. And you pay this fee only for the first year, plus some very small administrative fee of Marburg, around 80 euros. And then for the second year, you don't pay fee for Kent. You just pay a small fee for Marburg, which is around 500 euro. This includes also free public transport in the whole state of Hesse. So first year, mainly fees for Kent. Second year, no fees for Kent, but for Marburg, a smaller amount of fee. Until now, we offered DAAD scholarships. You see the numbers here in the slide. This funding ends, as you can see, in March 2026. Currently, we applied for additional funding. The decision is still pending, so we really hope that we can extend the DAAD scholarships for around 6 scholarships per year in this program. Yeah, thank you for attention.
I would like to give the mic to Professor Ulrike Schulz, who will be presenting from Friedensau Adventist University Development Study Program with further.
Hello, everybody. Can you see my presentation? Okay. So I'm also coming now with another master program, which is not like the others. It's not really just political science or just sociology. It's also an interdisciplinary master program in development studies. But because our university is a bit particular, a bit special, so I'll just give you an overview on our university. It's a campus, it's a small university, and it's a campus university, which means that most of our students also live on campus. So we have also student accommodation on campus. is in Sachsen-Anhalt, Saxony-Anhalt. It's not so far from Magdeburg, but also not very, it's 120 kilometers from Berlin. So our students also go regularly to Berlin or Magdeburg. And so, but the place is quite remote, as you see. It's also a bit of a special university. It's a private university, which is not so common in Germany. And it's run by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. It was state recognized 1990, and all our programs are accredited and acknowledged by the German state. Okay. We have 3 programs in English, and so it's a Bachelor in International Social Work and Master in Development Study. I talk about it, and very close and very much connected to this master is an online program we also offer in development studies. So our campus, the first program the main program I want to introduce you to and let you share my knowledge about it. It's a Master in Development Studies, a full-time, and the students, they live on campus. So we don't have online modules. Sometimes we have one, but most of the classes are on. People have to be there. The objective of this master program is to prepare students in the field of development cooperation. So it is a kind of a program which is really closely connected to the development field and development organizations. So we also have a lot of experts coming from different organizations. And also our students, as I will tell you a bit later, they also do an internship during their studies. We also very international program. So like I think the speaker before said that you hardly have German students now. We have a similar situation, but we have students from everywhere. So we have, at the moment, most of our students come from African countries and from Southeast Asia. So we have, interestingly, at the moment, a really big group from students from Myanmar, for instance. But this is moving and shifting. And beside our students, we also have a big and very active alumni network, and it is really truly international. So we have also students from South America, from the US, and also from other European countries. So our focus is on development studies, but we also have this focus on global justice. So we have a kind of this idea of that they learn relevant theory as well as get a practical introduction into the field in development and the aid industry. Everybody has to do an internship during the studies. It's a 2-month internship, but many of our students do also a bit longer. They can do it within an Erasmus funding, or sometimes we have other funding for the internship. So there's different things, different ways of doing internship. Some students go to their home countries and do it there. It's also quite popular. Others do it within Europe and get Erasmus funding. Others go to other so-called developing countries. And some of our students also do it in Germany in development organizations, but also sometimes they also do it in some kind of social work institutions. So you see our study program. We start in the winter. And in the first semester, they also get a lot of this introduction module. We also have academic writing, because we also feel the need to prepare all the students or bring them on a similar level, because they come with bachelor degrees from very different universities, very different academic cultures. So it's very important for us to have this module. Then we give them an introduction to development studies. Partly it's about development theories, partly about the aid sector. We also really focus on this research method. You see in the first semester, they get an introduction. In the second, they have a module in quantitative and qualitative methods of social research. You see they have quite a lot of electives. I come to this. Another very important module is this planning, management, and evaluation module. For this, the students do a field trip to a European country, usually in Southeast Europe. Last time they went to Macedonia. Sometimes they go to Serbia, Croatia, to do this kind of a baseline study and learn how to maybe plan a project. It's an exercise, but it's also kind of to be able to travel to other places in Europe and also see how diverse Europe is. In many cases, we had a lot of African students now, so we also changed this role of being an expert. Now comes from Africa, and the Europeans are the people who are in need, and they have to be assessed. And I think sometimes very interesting to have this kind of change of roles. So regarding the electives, it doesn't move here anymore. Here we have the students are selecting a concentration, because the first years of our program, we heard from many students that it's too broad and they cannot, if they apply for jobs, it's too much, too general. So we have 3 concentration. One is migration, displacement, and development. So they do something about refugee studies, migration studies. They become experts in this direction. Another concentration they can choose is gender, intersectionality, and development. It's also many organizations nowadays, many countries, they look for gender specialists, they have gender desks, and so our students can then apply for these jobs. And the last one is sustainability and resource use. So it's about climate change, but also land use and land grabbing, land rights. So we also have a scholar who's an expert in this whole discussion on the commons. So all this is part of this sustainability concentration. That we also have tried to give them more practical, concrete inputs, which they can choose for their professional career, like monitoring and evaluation. We offer disaster response, global public health. We offer this as electives. Okay, so just to give a short overview about a few things. We have people for the applications. They need a degree in social science, humanities, or other related fields, a bachelor, similar to one of the programs before. If they are really not having this bachelor, they can also get admitted because of their professional experience. They have to send some documents and write a letter of motivation, and then our selection committee is deciding if there's some of the students are quite good. They might have done agriculture or engineering, but especially if they come from African or Southeastern countries, there are some of them are very good students who are really have this idea of becoming a development expert, and then we also want to make it possible for them. We also have this English proficiency test or bachelor degree in England, taught in English. So it's, for instance, in many countries they have this bachelor degrees in English. We still navigate this issue of what's the English, because sometimes if you have a bachelor degree somewhere in English, it might not be. But usually we take people with a bachelor degree in English, and we have this proficiency test. It's something between B2 and C1. We have some numbers for the different tests, so you can also look at this on our website. Okay, the intake is in the winter. We are a private university, so we take not like other universities in Germany. We have to take fees. It's 2,961, which is a bit funny number per semester. But we also have some scholarship. We have some scholarships you can applying for. So we pay this, for instance, then we pay for the first year or 6 months, and then we have in between you can also apply for scholarships which cover part of the fees. We have money from the Deutschlandstipendien. We have some Deutschlandstipendien. We have money from our alumni association, and also some other funding from some NGOs. They also pay for 1 or 2 scholarships. So where do our students do the internship? They do it usually in developing country. We usually are countries from the global south, but it's also difficult. This terminology is really messy nowadays. But you can also say a country who's implementing projects, or a country who's a donor, or offices that are donor offices. So they usually select one of them. It can be the humanitarian aid or development cooperation. The Adventist Church has a big network of NGOs. In every country nearly you find one of them, of this ADRA network. And our students, it's easy for them to do it there. Some of them come from the Adventist Church and they have this experience already, but many of our students don't come there. You don't have to be a Christian, but our university has this relationship to this network. But some people also do it as with social work organizations in Germany. I just give you some topics of the recent master thesis. So you see our topics are a bit more broad than in the other programs. So we have this migration topics, Venezuelans in Manaus, self-perception, true and adaptation process about refugees in Brazil. We also have this kind of discourses. We have a lot of interest also in all this racist and discriminatory policies and related to migration, but also to the coloniality of our society. So we also have this, and then we have more practical things like livelihood strategies. And so you can see that we have a lot of very diverse master theses, and we also want the students to mostly to do empirical research, and that's why we also have a real focus on research methods. So our alumni, they're employed in NGOs. Some of them do an academic career. We have always students who do a PhD in Germany. So we also have two of our colleagues working now who are now a postdoc, have postdoc positions. They also came through our program and did their PhD in Germany. But some students, they work in very different things. Like we have a student who works in the mining industry. One is a tourist manager in a hotel. So we have also this very different things. And we also start having student social work and care work in Germany, which is also coming because they come from countries where you can't go back in the moment. So they're looking for professional work in Germany. Sometimes not so easy to get it in the development sector straight after graduation, and they have to get a job after graduation because of the visa requirement. So many of them also work in social work fields, like students from Myanmar or some African countries where there are wars and situations where you cannot return at the moment. Okay, just before I finish, I just want to show you that we also offer an online program, which is a part-time program. It means that you only do 90 credits in 2 years. And we want to also help people who work already in this field. There are many people working there who never had a professional, that didn't have this kind of professional certificates. They don't have a master in development. They're not even in their bachelor programs, they study development. And we want to give them the opportunity to professionalize themselves and also have other options in their career. This is a fully online program. Yeah. So in this program, we teach online, and they also do some extra work. They have not so many. We don't have so many sessions with them than with our full-time students. It's a similar program, but there's not so many electives. And we also don't have project planning and some other modules. We expect the students already to do it, but it's more like to give them this academic knowledge, which is, and that they're able to also reflect on the content of their work. That's what we usually do. We see here the program. It's similar, as I said, but a bit less. Yeah, so we also have the academic writing. We have disaster management. But we also have the theories of development industry, and we also have a very big emphasis on research methods in this program. Okay. So if you have any further questions, maybe for the online program here, there's another, so it's a combination of synchronous and asynchronous teaching. So we also we are trying to teach the online sessions along the needs of the students. The problem are the time zones. So we have students from the US and Mexico at the moment, and we have students from Myanmar. So it's not so easy. But we have a lot of this individual assignment, forum discussions, and so it's kind of a bit of an open forum. Generally about teaching, even in the full-time program, we also have a very, as we have only maybe 20 to 25 students, or sometimes 30 in a batch. So we have small classes, we really work with the students, it's very interactive, and we also do a lot of group work or different forms of teaching to be able to really support the students also individual, because we also realize in both programs that students come from very different backgrounds. And so we have to consider this in our teaching. Okay.
Much, Professor Schulz, for the details and also for mentioning online studies, because the questions came about online studies before you even mentioned it. So yeah, thank you very much for this. Also, thank you to other two speakers for already taking questions in the Q&A. So technically, I have opened 5 questions and answered 17, and now I would like to voice some of the answered questions as well. Let me start with the question about the internship or work experience for Brian. I think there were a few follow-ups in this regard. And if I correctly understood, the question is, you mentioned this at least 5 months of work experience. And should that be specifically after graduating from bachelor's, or can it be as part of bachelor's? Will that be considered?
It can be part of the bachelor's, but the idea here is that we want to attract students that have an interest in social protection, also have an experience working in social protection. So we draw a lot of candidates or applicants from actually working in civil society as well as within government institutions from their respective countries. Hence, in the second semester, many of them prefer to go back home because they actually got to go back to work. So these are people that are working in Department of Social Development and all of that. So they already bring that previous work experience. But we also understand for the younger students, it's fine that your work experience is not extensive. We also understand all that, but at the least it must be 5 months.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Professor Bonnacker, the question, one of the questions to you was about the how you teach in terms of essays or how the grading is done. If you want to elaborate this for also others, you can.
Yeah, happy to do so. Thank you. So actually, that's a good question because it gives me the opportunity to again strengthen the argument that it's really interesting to study at 2 different places, because also assignments and the way of teaching is quite different between the UK universities and German universities. And you see this in our program. So in UK, very often you have a lot of interaction in class and you have smaller assignments, smaller essays on a, let's say, weekly, bi-weekly basis. You get a kind of immediate feedback from the course instructor. Whereas in Germany, typically you have one big assignment at the very end of the class. This can be a bigger essay, kind of let's just say with more words per essay. But in Marburg, we also introduce like alternatives to that. For example, producing a podcast or participating in an exhibition or whatnot. So different more alternative ways of doing assignments, but also the very classical one. And for the module in peace psychology, we actually have a written exam at the very end of the course. So last day basically. So some very traditional ones, some more innovative ones, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Should we also, yeah.
You can.
Okay, can I speak? Yeah. Okay, for us it's a bit similar. We are just in Germany, but our staff and the people and the tradition of this university is also a bit more international. So we also have both. We have this what we call continuous assessment, that the students submit something and they get feedback like small essays. I do this a lot because I feel, especially in the first semester, that for our students, very important to develop their writing skills. And so if they do a small essays, a few pages, we can start giving feedback and avoiding that at the very end of a semester, something funny comes up, which is not really appropriate, but it is really a way of learning. And we also have written exam. We have also the classical, what in German we call a Hausarbeit, a paper at the end. That's also coming up in many of but we also ask from the accreditation organization to have more diverse forms. So we also started to have oral examinations now for some classes and also some written exams. So it's quite diverse. concentration. But we really have this continuous assessment always in between a little bit. We try to have it in many, many classes now.
Ryan, maybe you also want to follow up
Yes,
on this
maybe
one?
if I can add, I would say we also assess on a continuous basis based on the module. But I mean, in the advent of AI, we also having to reconceptualize what it is that we assess and how we assess it. So we see more oral exams, oral presentation as well. We also have in-class written exams that are back now, especially some of the statistics, some of the quantitative subjects. And we also have some aspects where people use software such as SPSS and Stata and all of that also test different skills, and R, which is a public software. So generally, what other colleagues have said is also a continuous feedback, as well as smaller assignments, as well as larger assignments as well.
Thank you. Professor Schultz, the question was about this. You actually mentioned it's about asynchronous times and all of that. The first question from the same person is, if I graduate with this online MA, how well is it recognized? And I think the part with time zone is already addressed, but in case you want to add anything, feel free.
I think it's recognized. We had a 120 credit master online, but we realized that it's too much for the students because we expect them also to work during the time and do part-time. And usually it's recognized. You can also do a PhD after. So because if you do in your mind, especially for the ones who did a long bachelor program and have enough credits for the bachelor program. But within the development aid sector, if people do masters like this, online masters or part-time masters, it is very recognized for this kind of jobs. So usually people already have a job, and then they can add this master, and they get a better position usually in the organization. So I think it's recognized. But as I said, it's a new program, so we couldn't evaluate this properly. Yeah. And what was the other question about the
time difference?
Yeah, so we are trying to navigate this with all the students. It's sometimes difficult, and usually what comes out in the end that we do it around lunchtime, the lectures, midday, which is not good for some people. But most of our students can take a break in midday. Sometimes we just have students from Europe and the US, then we can do differently. Yeah, we can go more to the evening. We also have a student now from Mexico. He wants to have it at 6 o'clock in the morning, so he's fine with this, yeah, because he's doing it before work. So we try really to find solutions. So we don't have something what we do all the time the same way, because every batch is different because of the time zones. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now everybody already is aware that these programs are very interesting and also competitive. Therefore, a few questions were about the limits of accepting students. So what are the number of students you usually accept? It was a broader question, I think. Yeah, is there a limit on the number of students admitted, or will you be admitted if you meet the requirements? If there is a limit, how many students are accepted per year? Professor Bonacca, you just answered it, but maybe also others want to hear that. We could start with you.
Yeah, thank you. It's usually around 20, I'd say, but we may exceed this number if we receive a lot of very strong applications. So we are quite flexible to exceed it, let's say, to 30 max. I mean, this is the number we accepted for this year. As I said, because we received a record number of applications, but due to constraints in capacity, we wouldn't exceed this over 30. So that would be the absolute maximum. But usually around 20.
I think we always plan like this, because we say we can take 30 to 35 because we have this concentration where we separate the students. But in order to get the 30 or 35, we admit more because we have visa issues always. Big visa issues. So maybe admit about 50. we don't have so much as high numbers of 300, but we can't take everybody because we also have the requirements, the English proficiency, the bachelor degrees, but also the grades in the bachelor. So up to now, we usually take everybody who meets the requirements. The requirements also particular grade, and the German system is 2.5. It has to be better than 2.5. This is maybe a second class honor upper division or a B minus. It depends. There's a very complicated system of transforming grades. So sometimes I'm also surprised what grade comes out at the end. But that's our system. So,
Thank you. And Brian.
Thanks. I think, like Prof said, we also target 25 to around 30, but this year we have 34. In some instances or some years, you generally just have strong candidates and you would accept them on that basis. But initially 25, we find that's a very good group. But also maybe it's important to note that we have two different application processes. The DAD scholarship, we receive about 300 applications, of which we must only select 8. Then the normal application, we receive around 250, of which we target around 40 with a 50% attrition rate because of visa, as Prof also noted that we never know. Sometimes the students just show up after like 6 months of waiting for a visa without communication and so forth. So we also have to now start to plan around that, as well as different regions also experience delays in visa issuing. So sometimes the number can be inflated by the amount of people accepted and the amount of people that actually arrive.
Yeah.
Good. There were some specific questions about experts in area or some comments that I'm now checking in the Q&A. There was a question about GPA. It's different for Professor Bonnacker, as it's mentioned. Professor Schulz mentioned it's German 2.5 or better. And for Bonn-Rhein-Sieg,
No, we don't look at the GPA. It's the fit of the degree itself, not the GPA.
There was another question about the possibility to collect some work experience during studies, and maybe I could extend it with additional question of German skills in this regard. How is it in part of the curriculum, German classes, or maybe the university has language school and students can attend them? If you could say a few words about that, and then I let you enjoy your evening without my German university. Let's start with Brian, maybe.
From experiences that students do undertake some because of finances, some do work. That's the reality, and some do find formal work that fits in within the actual area of study, which is preferable. But in general, the university also offers German language courses, of which those who have the perspective of staying post their studies tend to be interested in that. But it's not a requirement that they learn German. But we advise them just to learn some basics, just to make their stay a bit easier.
Professor Schulz?
Yeah, in our university, we used to have a German program, so people could join this, but it's not there anymore. But what we do now, some of these providers for German courses, also for migrants and other people, they come to our university and offer quite cheap courses for our students. We also have this working thing that our students, most of them work somewhere. And for this, surely it helps to know some German, but it's also a way of learning German. Yeah, they work in all kinds of facilities in logistics and restaurants, and because they also need some money. Yeah, so but we also want to do something about, because we have a bachelor now in international social work, so now we want to really develop something, that they can learn German. But some first semesters are overwhelmed by doing everything in English. So for them, sometimes it's not even so good to learn German. So it's a kind of a very diverse thing. But I think it's good for us to offer something on campus for them.
Thank you. Yeah, and Professor Bonnacker.
Yeah, I mean, in our case, so the program is not quite sure how this is with the other two colleagues, but in our program, it's strictly limited to 2 years. So there's no chance to extend the program. This is different from usual German programs, I would say, but here it's really like, according to the British higher education system, it's strictly limited to 2 years. So you get your degree after 2 years. You submit your dissertation as the third Friday of August. That's the submission deadline, and then you're done, basically. Which means that there is hardly any time actually to get work experience, because it's pretty much tense, I would say. And I mean, of course, there's this internship, but apart from the internship, I think, I mean, of course, you can do some work for, let's say, financial reasons. Yeah, that you can do actually, but otherwise, I think it's you basically focus on your studies. With regard to language courses, so you can take language courses in Marburg. You can take a German language course. It would be part of your curricula. It's not mandatory. You can survive without German language. It's the same with, as Brian just said. So we strongly encourage students to learn some German just to kind of get a bit of better insights, probably also into the everyday culture. But it's not mandatory. But if you want, as a student, you can obtain classes, and that would be recognized. You can also obtain other language classes. Our language center offers quite a broad range, from Japanese to Chinese to Swedish. So you can also take these classes. Usually students do either take a German language course or no language class, and then just learn some German on the streets, so to say.
Great. Thank you very much.